Hola mi gente hermosa, educada, profesionales. Welcome back to my channel. I am Young Bass, where we talk about education and not bullshit. So Bernie lost, Biden remains, and rumor says that we're gonna see more orange than white in the White House. I read Biden's entire plan on education, and I'm going to consolidate that information for you. So it's going to be divided into three parts. First part is his plans on pre-K through 12 education. Second part is his plans on higher education, and third is on student loans. Just a discretionary thing. I voted for Bernie.
Well, thank you all very much for being here. Let me thank all the great...
I was never a supporter of Biden, and as a bonus clip, I'll share at the very end my experience with Biden supporters during the caucus in Las Vegas, Nevada. But let's get started with the video. So pre-K through 12 education plan. So he wants to double the number of health professionals like psychologists, guidance counselors, nurses, etc., which is awesome. So point for him. He wants to champion for legislation to ban assault weapons, which is great. But he's been fighting this fight since 1994, and he always says that he's defeated the NRA twice, and I'm not sure what that really means. So not a point there. He wants to fully expand the Disability Education Act. At this point, it's only being funded 14%, and he wants to fully fund it, and which is great because I work with SPED kids and I've noticed the struggles of providing those accommodations. There's modifications, there's a lack of resource and training to help these students. So I definitely think that that is a wise investment. So another point for him. He wants to expand home visits through the Affordable Care Act, I believe. And so basically these visits would help parents become parents. I mean, I guess a point. It doesn't show where these scheduled visits will be. Will it be in communities, in low-income communities? Would it be in more resource communities? Doesn't really say, so no points there. Let me now show you President Trump's plans on pre-K through 12. So right here we see that so this is on his website. It doesn't say plans for 2020. It shows what he's done in the past, supposedly. So based on this website, we see that he requested $1 billion in grants for public school choice. And he also invested $250 million, or actually requested $250 million to promote private school choice, which we know is incredibly wrong because we want to be able to improve the broken public education system that we currently have first, rather than pushing for private education, because not everyone can afford it. Even if you have vouchers available, how are you going to get those students to go attend those schools? Because most of those schools are very far from their homes, very different from their communities. How are you going to address the transition from public to private? So those are things that need to be considered as well, and his plan clearly doesn't provide that. Additionally, he has a $5 billion federal tax credit for those who fund scholarships to private vocational schools. So you see, he's providing a tax credit for rich people to donate to these schools. I don't know how that's going to help our current education system. Okay, let's now talk about higher education. So all you college students out there or high school seniors, listen up. Biden has two main focuses. One are community colleges, and the second is historically black colleges and tribal colleges. So for community college, he wants to make it free those first 2 years, right? And he also wants to implement a grant program that would provide solutions to faculty retention, student retention, professional developments for faculty members, more support for student services, career services, so all these things to help improve community colleges, which I think is great. He also wants to improve wages and benefits for faculty members. And as you all know, it's horrible when we see faculty members going into these community colleges and then they're leaving in 2 years, 3 years. And we have that same problem with our K through 12 public education system as well. And he wants to invest $8 billion to improve the health and safety of community colleges, including technology, which I think is great, and I think I will give him a point for that. A point for the community college and for the investing money. In terms of HBCUs or TCUs, so historically black colleges and tribal colleges and universities, he's a huge proponent of this, and I now see why so many people of color were supporting him. As a California native and a resident of Nevada, I was kind of bewildered that so many POC people supported Biden, especially because Bernie has such a huge, diverse coalition that I was kind of, what? But anyways, he wants to invest $18 billion in grants to these institutions so that students are able to attend these universities, because they're expensive, and he wants to make it more affordable for them. So he sees a problem that in many professional industries, in the health industry, in the law industry, all these other ones, there's a lack of diversity, and he wants to push money into these institutions so that students are more have the accessibility to attend schools like these. He wants to invest $10 billion to research centers while connecting students underrepresented in these fields, such as engineering, research, all these other different fields, which I think is awesome, so that students are able to also contribute to combating climate change, inequality. He also wants to invest $20 billion in infrastructure for these research centers in historically black college universities and tribal colleges and universities. He wants to update and modernize these institutions, which I think is so valuable and something that was lacking of Bernie's educational plan. But let's look at Trump's plan regarding higher ed. So he says that he implemented the year-round distribution of Pell Grants all year. So it's not just school year, but also during the summer and winter breaks. I remember I got my grants during winter breaks. I don't know if this is true, maybe it is. And he also reformed FAFSA to make it more accessible to students. And he also provided money to assist with the cost of educating students displaced by Hurricane Harvey, Irma, Maria. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Last but not least, let's talk about student loans. So if you are familiar with the Public Service Forgiveness Program, this means that if you work in public service, you're able to qualify for forgiveness or debt relief for your loans. And public service would mean if you're a teacher in Tier 1 schools, if you work for the government or nonprofit or any type of nonprofit settings. So Biden wants to reform this program, and for every year that you served in these public settings, he wants to offer $10,000 of debt relief up to 5 years, which means you are only eligible to get debt relief of $50,000, up to, right, maximum. So I think this is great, especially since I'm a teacher in a tier 1 school, and I've been in education for almost since 2016, and it's 2020. So I would be automatically eligible for $40,000 of debt relief, which is the total amount of my loans. So this is great, but it's also problematic because I think there are some industries out there, some occupations that would be considered public service but are not and would not be able to qualify for this program, such as medical professionals, nurses, doctors, surgeons, all of those things. And I'm sure those type of people or those type of occupations required more loans than somebody in government would have had to take, or teachers that would have had to take. So that's what I see, and Bernie's plan covers anybody, right? It doesn't have to be in public service, it could be anybody. And so that's my take on the public service loan. So let me just show you Trump's plan on, or what he already did supposedly. He said he reformed student loan servicing process to improve customer experience. I don't give a shit about customer service. Like, I just want my loans, like, perdonados, you know what I mean? He also brought in financial experts to modernize the way FSA offers and services student loans. Doesn't really talk about any debt relief or addresses the problem of huge amounts of student debt that students have to take because they want an education but they can't afford it. Alright, that's it, folks. I know this isn't the most comprehensive analysis summary of Biden's educational plan. I just took what I understood and things that I actually believe will change will change our education system, and it might not change completely, but it's something, and it's what we have. It's something worthy of looking into. But in general, he's a huge proponent of community college, historically black colleges and universities, tribal colleges and universities, and he wants to reform the public service loan forgiveness program. And I think there's more that he could do, and I'm not saying like I'm full on Biden, because I am not. I still think that it's unfair that Bernie didn't receive the momentum that he should have received, and I'm very thankful for his service and his dedication to our country for so many years. Probably twice the age that I am. It's probably the amount of years that he served in this country. And but yeah, that's pretty much it. But if you have any further questions, or if you like this if you like this video, or comment below what you thought. Anything that I was missing, or any interpretation of yours or opinion. It's a free country. You can leave the comment below, and subscribe if you want anything other related to education. You already know, no bullshit up in here. Alright, ciao. I bet you guys are waiting for the bonus clip, right? My eyes are so weird in this video. Quick little thing. Oh my god, so many distractions. But, yes, Nevada caucus. It was my first time caucusing ever because I'm from California. So when I moved here and I heard about what caucusing was, I decided to participate instead of voting the traditional way. And so I was a Bernie precinct captain, and so I had a huge role in this whole caucusing process. And so I was there. There was a couple supporters for Tom, a couple supporters for Bernie, and then others, I don't remember which ones they were. But the case was this, that there was no Biden supporters, and there was one who was supporting Biden, but because our, I guess, coach or whatever you want to call them didn't show up, they asked the only Biden supporter in the group to be that captain, which meant that his vote wouldn't count, which sucks, right? And then he tried to like bring me over to his side, and he was like, hey, can you help me out? But that means if I'm gonna help him out with all the process and stuff, I would also not have a vote, and nobody really knew what was going on. It was only like a group of 10 of us, and everybody was super lost. They didn't know what to do, and most of us, it was our very first time caucusing, especially because, well, actually I was gonna say that we were all pretty young, but there was a mix. And so yeah, that was pretty much it. And it was so interesting that all the Biden supporters in that precinct were all white, and everybody else was like POC. And I swear to you, if they didn't have Biden apparel, they would look like Trump supporters. That's how white they looked. But yeah, that was a very interesting. And another interesting thing is that Biden supporter, the person who was gonna support for Biden, he was actually from Ireland, and he had an Irish accent. So that was a little weird too. I was like, yo, I don't know. I just thought it was weird.